HarperCollins presents Sweet Revenge by Camilla Läckberg. Translated by Ian Giles. Read by Sofia Engstrand. For Mia and Polly. Women Without Mercy. Part 1. 1. Ingrid Sten. When her husband, Tommy, came into the living room, Ingrid Sten cupped her hand around the object she was holding, placing it in the crack between the sofa cushions. He walked past her. He flashed her a quick, mechanical smile before continuing into the kitchen. She could hear him as he opened the fridge and rifled inside it, humming Bruce Springsteen's The River to himself. Ingrid left the object where it was and got up from the sofa. She drifted over to the window. The street lighting was struggling against the Scandinavian darkness. The bushes and trees were bare and contorted. There was a TV flickering in the house opposite. Behind her, Tommy cleared his throat, and Ingrid spun around. "How's your day?" She contemplated him without answering. He was holding a half-eaten cold meatball in one hand. In the other, he had a glass of milk. His hair was thinning on the top. It always had been, but in his 30s he'd had the good taste to shave his head. The bottom of his shirt was wrinkled after being tucked into his trousers all day. "Good?" Tommy smiled. "Great." She watched as he left. Tommy, a working-class name. Bruce Springsteen, a working-class hero. Nevertheless, as soon as he'd been made editor-in-chief of Sweden's biggest tabloid, Aftonpressen, they'd moved out to Bromma, a neighbourhood for the upper middle classes in general, and the Swedish media elite in particular. The sound of fingers pattering away on a keyboard resumed in the study. Ingrid returned to the sofa, groping about between the cushions. She found one of her daughter Lovisa's old toys. She pulled it out, taking in the little green dinosaur with its oversized, staring eyes, before placing it on the coffee table. She bent over the sofa again, found the small device, and took it with her into the hallway. The sound of fingers writing, issuing orders, amending headlines increased in intensity. She took Tommy's coat off the hanger, the rectangular sewing kit in her back jeans pocket pressed into her buttock. Upstairs, she opened the door to the bathroom. After placing the sewing kit on the side of the basin, she locked the door and shut the toilet lid. She quickly picked open part of the inner lining of the coat, inserted the small device, and checked that it worked. Using her index finger, she switched it on, and then sewed the shiny fabric together again with a couple of stitches. 2. Victoria Brunberg. 3 years ago, Victoria's last name had been Volkova. She had lived in the modern Russian city of Ekaterinburg, and she had vaguely remembered something about the country of Sweden from her history classes. Now her name was Victoria Brunberg, and she lived in the village of Silbo, a few miles outside of Heby, somewhere in the middle of the country. She spoke Swedish with a thick accent and had no job or friends. She sighed as she poured the steaming hot tea into a mug emblazoned with the words Sweden Rock. She could hear the wind through the cracks at the bottom of the window. Outside the window, there were fields, forests, and grey sky. She shaped her hand into a screen so that she wouldn't have to look at that when she took the tea over to the kitchen table. Victoria sighed and put her feet up on the table. Everything about this place, this country, was detestable. She cupped the mug of tea in her hands and closed her eyes. "Yuri," she whispered. The gangster princess, that was what her friends in Ekaterinburg had jokingly called her. She had liked it. She had loved the diamonds, the drugs, the dinners, the clothes, and the apartment they had lived in. On the day of her 20th birthday, it had
Sample complete. Ready to continue?